He was once the strongest king, commanding thousands of soldiers and conquering everything, but suddenly he was transported to another world. He heard a voice telling him to seek the light in his next life. He woke up and saw two strangers looking at him. They said he looked just like them, called him Arthur, and he realized he had been reincarnated. In this other world, he couldn't believe he had become a newborn baby, and he wet himself. But he noticed his parents took great care of him. He felt his body was like a prison because he couldn't move as he wished. He wished it was all just a dream, but then he realized this world was very different. His father, Zeno, broke a huge rock with magic, but a shard hit him, and his wife Elsa had to heal him with restoration magic. Arthur realized that kind of power didn't exist in his old world. Zeno went hunting with friends, and was charged by a wild boar, but he faced it head-on and easily defeated it. He returned home intending to hug his wife, but noticed his hands were dirty. Arthur thought this world was truly dangerous because everyone was allowed to use weapons, so he was determined to become strong as soon as possible. Elsa asked Zeno if he was okay, and he told her not to worry because it was just a light mission. She told Arthur it was nap time, and he felt frustrated because he couldn't do what he wanted, but thinking about a peaceful life like this was nice too. He remembered the days he faced assassins and couldn't sleep whenever he wanted. After a few days, Arthur's parents watched him as he learned to crawl. He saw himself in the mirror. They thought he was adorable, but he still wasn't used to being treated like a baby, and he began planning to get stronger. Elsa kissed him and put him in the crib, but he sneaked out and slowly crawled to the library. While she was washing dishes, he read books about the world he now lived in and learned that this place belonged to the 6 continents. It included 3 kingdoms: the underground kingdom of the Earthlings, the Enmo kingdom, where the forest elves lived, and the human kingdom of Sepan, which had the largest population. He realized this kingdom had a reigning king, but unlike his old world, the throne here was inherited, not seized. He took a book on magic and realized technology here was still very primitive, because the people mainly focused on developing magical power. He learned that mana was the main source of power, and controlling it largely depended on heredity. Only 1% of the population could use mana. He read about 2 ways to apply mana: enhancing the body and summoning magic. Augmenters used mana to boost physical strength, while summoners channeled mana outward to cast spells. He studied mana cores and the structures that allowed humans to control this energy. Usually, mana cores formed during puberty, but he discovered he could create a mana core by concentrating mana at a single point in his body. He found it similar to Ki, the source of his power in his previous life. He tried using his knowledge of Ki to form a mana core, but suddenly Elsa caught him. She told him not to worry her anymore and carried him back to the crib. A year later, after 2 years, Elsa wrote a diary about her nurturing experience, but she wondered why she never saw the child smile. She saw Arthur practicing swordsmanship with Zeno, who was teaching him how to use a sword, but she seemed unhappy because she thought Arthur was still too young. Elsa took Arthur to town. He observed the goods on display and realized most of those things didn't exist in his previous world. He saw a man casting fire magic, and when he returned home, he even started to love this new life because his parents always cared for and protected him. In his previous life, Arthur grew up in an orphanage and never felt the love of his biological parents. Elsa said she cherished every moment with her son. She said Arthur resembled his father a lot and believed he would become an explorer one day. Still, she hoped Arthur would have a peaceful life. Arthur watched Zeno use mana to lift large stones into the air. Zeno thought he had impressed Arthur, but Arthur thought it would be faster if Zeno just picked up the stones with his hands. Elsa said it was bedtime, but Arthur wanted to read. He used his cuteness to convince his mother and was allowed to stay in the library. He continued trying to form his mana core, focusing all energy into one point in his body. Suddenly, an explosion occurred. Zeno shielded Elsa from harm. He asked if she was okay. Elsa said Arthur was still in the room. They rushed in and found Arthur had awakened his power. They couldn't believe it because he was only 2 years old. Arthur felt he had taken the first step toward becoming strong, but the roof suddenly collapsed, almost crushing him. Arthur realized he had been careless and thought he wasn't ready to die, but his parents managed to save him. Gino looked at the rubble, and the two burst into tears, thinking they had lost their son. I don't understand why they were so emotional, because he had never had parents before, but then he also started crying, unable to explain the flood of emotions in his heart. In a flashback, a man was accused of attempting to murder Arthur. The council declared they would exile him back to his homeland for trial. The man confessed and begged Arthur to spare his wife and child, because if they returned, they would face a fate worse than death. The council refused, but Arthur killed the man's wife and daughter, leaving everyone stunned. However, they realized it was an act of mercy, because at least the family would no longer suffer. The man cried, thanking Arthur for granting his wish. Our characters returned to the present. Gino gave Arthur a pair of gloves, but he refused, wanting to use a sword instead. He knew gloves weren't a good weapon for a child. They started training. Gino enchanted the sword with mana, But Arthur did the same, and destroyed his father's sword with a single strike. Then Gino told Elise they needed to hire a teacher to train Arthur because he realized his son was extremely talented. Elise didn't want Arthur to leave home, so she offered to teach him magic herself, but Gino reminded her Arthur couldn't learn her type of magic. He revealed that Arthur had destroyed the sword during training. Elise couldn't believe it when she found out Arthur was only 4 years old. Still, she refused to let Arthur leave home. The two argued, and Gino suggested they could go with their son. They thought it was a great idea since they'd get to hear everyone praise their son's talent and eagerly prepared to leave home. Arthur's family met a group of adventurers. One man recognized Arthur and thought he didn't remember them, but Arthur knew they were the tourist group, the team his parents once worked with. The man introduced himself as Adam. A girl hugged him and told him to call her Angela. Another put him down and said his name was Dathan. They pointed to another girl named Casimir, and the female archer in the group was Helen. The group began their journey. Alice told Arthur to enjoy his first trip, but he commented that their transportation was too primitive because he was used to modern warships from his previous life. They headed toward a built-up city, and Arthur was excited to see the place, but they had to stop for a moment and were suddenly attacked by a pack of wolves. The group fought them off, and Arthur was impressed by their skills. Afterwards, they ate wolf meat for dinner. Gino told Arthur to eat freely. He thought he couldn't be picky while traveling, but he noticed Elise wasn't eating. She said she was full, but Arthur knew she only took one bite after seeing Gino get injured. Elise used magic to heal her husband, while the others kept watch because they didn't want anyone to discover them. Elise was very powerful. They knew she was a special type of mage called an imitator. She had to hide her power because if discovered, she could be exploited. Adam asked Gino if he could borrow Arthur for a moment because he wanted to play with the boy, but then he drew his weapon, letting Arthur know it was a duel. No one stopped them, and Arthur knew Adam wouldn't go easy, so he was ready to fight. He used a skill to boost his speed and charged. Adam was ready to counterattack, but Arthur suddenly vanished and appeared right behind him. Everyone was shocked by that speed, but Arthur lost balance because he wasn't used to his current body yet. Adam threw him aside, but Angela used wind magic to soften his fall. Everyone wondered why Adam didn't hold back. He explained that Arthur was a monster, and it was unclear what kind of training he had gone through. Casimir was curious about Arthur's speed boost skill and asked him to teach her. Arthur realized Casimir was the type who would do anything to reach her goals, so he agreed. The group continued their journey. They took turns training Arthur to become an adventurer. He showed Casimir his speed boost skill and ran extremely fast, but she easily kept up. On Arthur's birthday, Casimir gave him a knife. He realized she was starting to open up to him, and everyone noticed she was acting differently than usual. They prepared to continue their journey, but Arthur noticed Elise acting strangely. He asked if something was wrong, and she said nothing was the matter. As they continued, they were suddenly attacked by a group of bandits. The leader said he would kidnap women and children to sell for money. He ordered his men to charge and attack. Arthur's group tried to fight back, but the enemy outnumbered them. Zeno was thrown into Arthur's cart. Elise immediately ran over to heal her husband, but Zeno told her not to reveal her power because they couldn't let the bandits find out. He told Arthur to take his mother and run, but Arthur said he was strong enough to fight. At that moment, Zeno revealed that Elise was pregnant. Arthur was shocked and realized why his mother had been acting differently lately. Zeno told Arthur he was about to become a big brother, and he needed to use his power to protect his mother. Arthur fled with his mother. The leader ordered his men to stop them, but Zeno charged in to fight him. The leader mocked Zeno, saying he wasn't strong enough to defeat him. But Zeno unleashed all his power and started to overpower him. Meanwhile, some bandits blocked Arthur's path, but Arthur's comrades opened a way and told him to get his mother to safety. Arthur remembered how he had killed countless people before. He had grown numb to life and death, but suddenly an enemy mage cast a wind spell. He immediately pushed his mother out of the attack's path and took the hit himself. Despite the injury, he threw a dagger at the mage. The dagger wrapped around the mage's leg and knocked him down. Everyone realized Arthur was in danger, so Angela and Datton quickly cast spells to save him, and I found it strange that even facing death, his heart felt warm. He remembered the man who begged him to spare his family's lives. He understood that at that moment, the man and the woman felt the same way. He realized his parents had cried when saving him because they were willing to risk their lives to protect their son. He understood that if he died, they would suffer just as much. He also longed to be a big brother and started to crave survival. When he woke up, Arthur found himself in the middle of a forest. He was relieved to know he was still alive, but the ground suddenly shook, and a shadowy creature appeared, calling his name. He tried to attack it, but it merely flicked its hand, sending him flying. It said he was still weak. A woman named Senvi appeared. She claimed to be his ally, but Arthur didn't understand her intention. She gave him fruit and told him to eat it to recover. When he tried to move, the pain made him cry out. Senvi said he was lucky to be alive. She promised to answer all his questions after he finished eating. He ate the fruit and asked where his parents were. Sin Vi said they were safe and had left here days ago. Hearing this, he cried out of relief, having thought they were dead. However, after a few days, Arthur had recovered and wanted to return home, but Sin Vi said he couldn't go alone because they were at the forest's edge. Elise arrived at a place filled with wild beasts and criminals. She promised to open a space gate to send him home but needed time to prepare. Arthur began training with a staff, and found Sin Vi very intimidating because of her mysterious aura. He knew nothing about her since she shared little, but he believed she was a good person. Arthur activated his mana core, impressing Sin Vi, because a small child like him could do that. She gathered mana in her hand and asked if Arthur knew what she was doing. He guessed she was casting magic while collecting 10 mana at once. She explained that humans usually couldn't do that because they have a narrow view of mana. Arthur said he wanted to learn that technique, but Sin Vi asked what he planned to do with it. She knew that if he learned it, he would reach a new level of power. Arthur recalled the bandits attacking his parents and said he would destroy anyone who dared take away his loved ones. Hearing this, Sin Vi flung him away and said he had failed. She refused to teach him the skill because he thought killing was fun. She raised her hand and said with just a touch she could tear him apart or stroke him gently. She asked which he preferred. Arthur replied he liked gentleness more. Sin Vi said she disliked violence because it only made people hate each other. She told Arthur to live a peaceful life. Arthur was surprised because she spoke as if she knew everything about him, but he knew that was impossible. Sin Vi asked what Arthur would do with his power once he got stronger. He remembered his time with the Toinhon group and said he wanted to use his power to protect everyone. Sin Vi smiled and said that was the perfect answer. But somewhere else, a creature was hunting Sin Vi, and it flew away after leaving behind the corpse of a dead dragon. In a flashback, Arthur meets a man named Marlon. He welcomes him to the office. Arthur is king in name only. Real power lies with the parliament. The country is in peril, and Arthur's role is to serve as a strategist in the war. Marlon praises him for securing many victories for the nation, and wonders why Arthur came here, but Arthur remains silent and leaves. We return to the present. Shinvi teaches Arthur how to cast spells while recovering mana. He recalls how he used ki to fight in his past life, and applies that to his training. Finally, he succeeds, and can move while activating skills. Shinvi praises him but suddenly senses someone approaching. She tells Arthur to hide under the rubble and make noise. Arthur sees a creature hunting for students. She wonders how he found them. He says the scent of blood led him. He orders the student to follow, but she refuses. He immediately fires an energy orb, forcing the student to struggle to defend. He threatens to kill her if she resists. The student unleashes her full power. Her shell shatters, revealing her true form as a dragon. Athena is stunned upon realizing her true identity. She attacks the creature with a powerful energy blast. He creates a shield to block. He warns she'll die if she uses that power, but she doesn't care, saying she's lived a fulfilled life. He retaliates with a barrage of attacks, destroying everything around. Please confirm Arthur is still safe. Realizing she's in danger, she activates a time-stopping spell. Arthur crawls out from under the rubble. Shinvi opens a space gate and tells him to go. She says the gate leads to a remote place, but Arthur will survive with his new skill. Arthur notices Shinvi is injured. She gives him an egg and tells him to take care of it, wrapping it in her feather. She draws symbols on his arm. Arthur asks what they mean, but she says he'll understand one day. She says it's time to say goodbye, revealing she could have sent him home from the start, but she didn't want to leave because she loved the time spent with him. She says she's not strong enough to protect him, so he must escape. Arthur realizes the moments with Shinvi have changed him. He considers her family. Shinvi reminds him he has a mother, so Arthur calls her grandma. Shinvi leaves after hearing that. She thanks him and says it's time for him to go. Arthur carries the egg and feather and steps through the gate. He wants her to come along, but she closes the gate. Time keeps moving. Shinvi is struck by an attack and falls. The creature approaches, but knows she's still alive. The student suddenly counterattacks with a massive energy blast, causing a huge explosion as Arthur escapes. Through the space gate, he hears the student's voice. She tells him to remember everything she taught him. Arthur says he's sad, but the student says this world is full of sorrow and we have to change it with smiles. Arthur thinks he can't do it, but she says to take it step by step because she believes in him. She reveals she knows about Arthur's past life. She tells him not to let his heart fill with anger and hatred, but to live a life full of light. Arthur wakes up in the forest, thinking about Shinvi's last words. He prepares to continue his journey, carrying the egg she gave him, but suddenly hears a noise. He speeds up, jumping through the trees, and sees a little girl surrounded by bandits. She cries out for help, but the bandits say no one's coming to save her. They plan to sell her for money. Arthur recalls when his family was attacked by thieves. He intends to kill them, but remembers Shinvi's advice, live peacefully. He tries to control his emotions. The bandits take the girl through the forest. Arthur silently follows. When they rest, Arthur prepares to strike. He notices the beasts pulling the cart obey orders. He discovers their necks are fitted with magical collars. Arthur throws a stone to anger them. A bandit steps forward to calm them, but Arthur suddenly appears behind and takes him down with a critical blow. He takes the bandit's knife. Another bandit spots the dead body but is also taken down by Arthur in a flash. Another appears. Arthur charges to attack, making the leader hear the shouting and suspect something. Someone reports a mage is attacking. The leader thinks it's just a kid and wants to capture Arthur alive to sell him. He enhances his body and charges forward, but that strike was blocked by the dagger you threw. Yet he caught it and kicked you away. He praised you for fighting well. Then he told you to give up. Arthur burned his leg. He got angry and said he would kill you, but Arthur threw the dagger again. This time it hit his head, and Arthur took him down immediately. The last bandit begged for mercy, but Arthur showed no forgiveness. You rescued the little girl. Seeing her face hidden in shadows, you felt confused but said she could go home. She asked about the bruise on your arm. You thought a child shouldn't witness that scene and realized this was the first time you met a friend your own age. You covered the bandits' bodies and said she was too young to see such sights, but she reminded you that you were also a child. She asked what happened to the bandits. Arthur just said they had an accident. You told her she was safe, packed her things, and said you were glad to meet her. But she grabbed your hand, too scared to be left alone, and Arthur decided to stay with her. Arthur wondered why the girl was so frightened, thinking the 8 people were safe living in the forest, but the girl said her parents had warned her about tree golems, creatures that eat children. She revealed she didn't know the way home, so Arthur understood he couldn't abandon her. He planned to kill the draft animals because he didn't know how to control them, but the girl wanted to set them free. She said they were just victims exploited by the bandits. She said her people and the forest dwellers deeply respect life. Then she removed the magical collars from the beasts and let them go free. They continued searching for her home. While resting, the girl said her name was Tamer. Arthur gave her food, saying they still had a long way ahead. But she said the food smelled weird. She didn't like it, and demanded something sweeter. Arthur thought she acted just like a kid. She asked what Arthur was doing in the forest. He told her he got separated from his family after an attack. She thought he was lost just like her. Arthur asked about the land of the Elsa tribe. She said her parents were very busy, so she usually stayed with the servants. They continued looking for the Elmo kingdom. Arthur noticed flying insects around Tamer. She explained that was how the 8 people marked their path. She caught one and placed it on Arthur's hand. He understood it was how children show their love for the sky. Tamer said she would be trained by a master when her powers awaken. Arthur asked if she had formal education, but she didn't understand his question. He saw a beast following them and watched carefully. When they prepared to sleep, he worried the beast might attack, so he said he'd keep watch while Tamer slept. While thinking about that, a student greeted Tamer and invited him to sleep in the tent with her. She said outside he could be attacked by wild beasts. Arthur asked if she was afraid of ghosts, but she explained she was just worried about both their safety. Arthur went into the tent, and she said no matter what happened, he must not abandon her. He promised and told her to sleep. Tamer said her grandparents told her all human men were perverts. Arthur denied that but realized she had already fallen asleep. The next day, they continued their journey. Arthur noticed Tamer had become comfortable and close to him. He helped her cross a river but soon felt sharp pain in his bamboo core. Tamer left to find healing herbs. Arthur said that was dangerous. While waiting, a beast appeared carrying food it had hunted. Tamer saw it and said the beast was repaying them for setting it free. At night, they ate the beast's meat and found it delicious. Arthur admitted kids growing up need to eat a lot of meat. Tamer said she couldn't find herbs but picked some mushrooms. She said female A often ate those mushrooms, so Arthur decided to try them but then got poisoned. While resting in the tent, Tamer said she had heard about the human kingdom and dwarfs. She wanted to visit those places but feared meeting bad people. She said the 8 people didn't trust other races. Arthur suddenly fell asleep, and Tamer covered him with a blanket. The next morning, Arthur still wasn't well. He thought children's bodies were really fragile. Tamer asked if she could call him a friend, because she felt they were already friends. But Arthur said he didn't deserve to be her friend since he was just a commoner. Tamer said he sounded like an old man, then he teased her by calling her a scaredy cat, which made Tamer angry. Still, she told him she just saw something. Arthur thought it probably wasn't important, but then he realized in front of them was a space gate on the tree trunk. Tamer rang the bell, announcing they finally found the way home. She invited Arthur to come along, but as he stepped through the gate, the guards immediately arrested him. Arthur said humans were not allowed in. Seeing Tamer standing silently, he thought she had betrayed him. The soldiers prepared to execute him, but Tamer begged them to spare Arthur, saying he was the one who saved her. The soldiers believed Arthur had brainwashed the princess, but her grandfather, Vdien, appeared and ordered Arthur's release. He thanked Arthur for saving the princess of the Alanoa kingdom. Arthur was shocked to learn Tamer was royal, as he had thought she was just an ordinary girl. Tamer's parents arrived, relieved to see their daughter safe, but suspicious of a human's presence. They ordered Arthur's arrest. Tamer explained that Arthur was her savior, and pleaded with her father to invite him to the castle. Vidian said he wanted to speak with Arthur privately. Tezer led Arthur on a tour of the National Gardens, but he noticed everyone staring coldly at him, realizing they hated humans. Tezer also looked at him strangely, making Arthur wary, thinking he shouldn't trust her too much. At the castle, the servants welcomed Tezer home. She told them to take care of Arthur, and said he was not a bad person. She asked what to do next, but Arthur said he wanted to share what he had experienced. Her father went to meet King Anduin to hear the story. Arthur said he was just a commoner who lost his parents after a bandit attack and happened to see Tezer kidnapped by slave traders. Hearing this, Anduin angrily said only humans could be that savage, but Arthur argued that wasn't true. All the slave traders were humans. Vidian asked how Arthur managed to save Tezer and himself. Arthur revealed he used magic to defeat the kidnappers, but the guards didn't believe him because he was just a kid. Tezer confirmed he was telling the truth. Anduin believed him, and requested permission to use the teleport gate to go home. Vidian explained that the gate to the Zepanchi kingdom opened once every 7 years, and they still had to wait 5 more years. But he couldn't let Arthur stay in the Eo kingdom forever, so he would send guards to escort him back by land. Arthur thanked them for the approval, excited to return to his family, but suddenly the pain in his mana core flared up again. Later, while bathing, Arthur noticed the mana core pain growing worse. He thought he needed treatment soon. That night, Arthur saw Tezer with her parents. He silently wondered if his family would still be happy to see him return. Tezer sat beside him and apologized on behalf of her parents, but Arthur understood they were just worried about their daughter. He told her to keep being a spoiled princess if she wanted. Tezer said Arthur would understand that feeling when reunited with his parents, but Arthur was worried. He feared his parents wouldn't love him anymore because he thought he was the reason the bandits attacked. Tezer held his face. She said his parents must miss him a lot because she already felt that way just about to be separated from him. At that moment, fireflies appeared around them. Tezer said she loved watching them, but Arthur suddenly sensed danger approaching. He protected Tezer and charged at the intruder. It turned out to be Vidian. Arthur wondered why he attacked them but realized Vidian was only using magical fireflies to test him. Vidian was intrigued by Arthur, gave him a wooden sword, and forced Tezer to watch the duel. Arthur charged, but Vidian easily dodged. Arthur realized he was too slow and tried to move faster. Vidian broke the wooden sword, shards flying toward Tezer. Arthur immediately blocked and used magic to attack Vidian, but it was ineffective. Looking into Vidian's eyes, Arthur recalled the monsters he fought in his past life. He knew if he wasn't serious, he would lose. Arthur was knocked back but quickly stood up, charged again, and this time landed a hit on Vidian. Vidian was surprised to be hit and wanted to continue the fight, but Tezer asked them to stop. Vidian asked if Arthur wanted to be his disciple, but Arthur refused, wanting to return home so his parents would know he was okay. Vidian said Arthur could still contact his parents even if he stayed, but Arthur's mana core pain flared up again. Vidian realized Arthur carried the will of a beast inside him, and if not trained properly, he would die. Arthur fainted and saw a dark creature emerge from his body, approaching him, but Tezer woke him up, saying Vidian was waiting outside. Vidian tells Tezer that Arthur cannot stay in Alanawa because he doesn't belong here. He asks why his father wants to take Arthur as a disciple. Vidian just says he feels fond of the boy. They get in the carriage and leave. On the way, Vidian mentions that Tezer often talks about Arthur. He explains that Tezer was always lonely since childhood, being the sole heir of the kingdom, so when trying to make friends, she was always betrayed. Since then, she learned to keep her distance from everyone, but ever since meeting Arthur, she's always smiling. Vidian thanks Arthur for helping his niece open up. Meanwhile, they arrive at a strange house. Vidian loudly calls for his friend to come out. A woman appears and tells him to stop shouting. Vidian introduces her as Jeannie, a special mage. He says she will help Arthur communicate with his parents. Arthur wonders how that's possible. Jeannie reveals she is a seer, someone who can see fragments of the past and future, and she can also help Arthur talk to his parents. She tells Arthur to look into the basin of water and focus on thinking about his parents while she chants a spell. An image appears. Arthur's parents preparing dinner and mentioning Arthur because today is his birthday, but we see that after losing contact with Arthur, they fall into despair. Zeno blames himself for letting Arthur protect his mother after the incident. They move to a new city. Zeno finds a job, and they try to start over with their lives. Though they can't forget the pain of losing their son, suddenly they hear Arthur's voice. He says he's still alive and currently in the kingdom. Eleanor uses magic to communicate with them. Arthur explains he can't return just yet because he needs to heal a problem inside his body, but he promises to come back once he's recovered. He says he's not sure when he'll contact them next, but asks his parents not to worry about him. Arthur's parents are happy knowing he's alive. Arthur cries, feeling he's made them sad again, and agrees to become Vidian's disciple. They return to the castle in Sao to convince the king to let Arthur stay. Vidian promises to take full responsibility since Arthur is his disciple. Then King Anduin apologizes for his earlier outburst and says Arthur is welcome to stay in the castle. Arthur realizes Tamer and Vidian are the king's weak points. He replies that he's honored. Tamer immediately invites Arthur to hang out. They go to town where Arthur accidentally bumps into a boy named Fergie. Fergie says Arthur shouldn't be there, and other kids start insulting him for being human. Tamer tells Arthur not to mind them. Fergie sarcastically says hanging out with a human will ruin her reputation and offers to escort her home. Tamer refuses and doesn't want to go with him. Arthur mocks Fergie's name, which angers him, and he challenges Arthur to a fight. Fergie says Tamer will be the referee. The match begins, and Fergie charges in, but Arthur easily takes him down with one move. He can't believe the fight ended so fast, and Tamer pulls him away from the crowd. Then the two continue, enjoying a fun day together. Arthur feels himself growing closer to her. Tamer asks if he's ready for tomorrow's training. Arthur recalls Vidian's warning that training for a beast tamer would be harsh, but if he endures it, the rewards will be great. He says he's excited and will try his best for the future. Tamer also says she won't lose and will try just as hard as him the next day. Vidian announces it's time to start training. Arthur knows it will be tough, but is determined to get through it. Just 3 years later, Tamer wakes Arthur up. She uses magic to pull him up, making Arthur yell for her to be gentler. They train together. Vidian watches and notices both are ready to move to the next stage. He explains that when a mage stabilizes their mana core, they can access the 4 elemental magics. Vidian says the race determines which element each person can use. Elves tend toward wind, dwarves toward earth and fire. Humans can use all 4 elements. Arthur is amazed to hear this, but Vidian reminds him that still, each person can only choose one main element. Tamer wonders why Arthur has never used magic during physical training. Vidian explains it's because Arthur is weak. He says Arthur's mana type contains the will of a beast, which unbalances his body and mana core, and that's why he often feels pain. Vidian says it's time to awaken the beast inside Arthur's body. If successful, he won't feel pain anymore and will become a true beast tamer. Vidian tries to awaken his mana core. Arthur's energy burst out like a binding force, suddenly surging from his body and blowing away both Vidian and Tamer. They didn't understand what had just happened. Arthur was unconscious. When he woke, Vidian asked him if he knew anything about the will of the beast inside him. Arthur admitted he received it from a dragon. Vidian was shocked. He went to the extreme and warned Arthur never to tell anyone. He cautioned that the dragon's will would attract dangerous attention. Arthur thanked Vidian for worrying about him. Vidian said that in 4 months, a cultural exchange program between the 3 kingdoms would begin. The human city gates would open, and Arthur could go home. Hearing this, Arthur felt sad. Tesla was also unhappy, knowing he was about to leave. That night, as Arthur prepared for bed, Cindy's eggs suddenly hatched, and a baby dragon appeared. Arthur found it adorable, but it immediately bit him. A mark appeared on his hand, and he began hearing the baby dragon's voice in his head, realizing it could communicate telepathically. He decided to name it Cindy and declared that from now on, it would be his daughter. The next morning, Tesla came to wake Arthur and shouted when she saw Cindy, but then hugged it because it was just too cute. They brought Cindy to Vidian. He panicked upon seeing the baby dragon and understood it had hatched from the beast's will. Arthur asked what to do with Cindy. Vidian said that since no one believed dragons existed, he could tell people it was a magical beast. He said Arthur had officially become a beastmaster and now had to train his will to create a mana core for Cindy. The best way was to have it fight for real. Vidian covered his body with a strange energy and transformed to a dark monster, saying the training session was starting. Arthur couldn't keep up with Vidian's speed, so he gave up, saying he was too scary. Vidian returned to his original form. Arthur said he couldn't sense his presence when he transformed. Vidian explained he used wind and sound magic to conceal his aura. Many days later, Arthur had mastered the beast's will. He could now use the dragon's power, and his body was so strong that the pain in his mana core no longer bothered him. Arthur and Tesla went for a walk in the city and happened to meet Fergie again, the boy Arthur had defeated before, but Arthur didn't recognize him. Fergie got angry and reminded him of their last encounter, challenged him again, but was instantly defeated. Fergie's friends felt embarrassed for him. Tesla reminded Arthur that Fergie was the same guy from before. Arthur suddenly remembered and said he was glad to see him again. They shook hands, and Fergie's friends revealed he always wanted to be friends with Arthur. Arthur asked if they would join the upcoming cultural exchange program. They said all nobles were required to participate, but Felicity thought Tesla wouldn't join because she might get lost. Tesla got angry and punched him away. Arthur told Tesla she shouldn't hit people like that and should act properly as a princess. Tesla replied that she was only angry because she was about to say goodbye to Arthur. Then she ran off. That night, Tesla cried alone in her room, but Arthur came to invite her to the forest. She agreed, even though she knew the place was forbidden. Arthur reassured her they'd be fine. They went to the house where they had once rescued the villagers and saw everyone living peacefully. Tesla and Arthur sat by the fire. She confessed she didn't want Arthur to leave, then kept going because she was tired. The next morning, Arthur prepared to leave Eleonora. Everyone came to see him off. Vi Dian gave him a compass, saying it would help him return to Illinois if needed. He warned Arthur not to wander at night anymore. Arthur apologized for entering the forest without permission as he was about to depart. Tesla ran to hug him and told him to take care. Arthur hugged her back, saying he would miss her a lot too. Arthur arrived in Season City to find his way home. His little sister, Eleanor, opened the door. His parents were stunned to see their son return. Arthur said he had come back, but Eleno didn't recognize him. Elizabeth immediately said this was her brother. Arthur recounted everything that had happened since they parted but didn't mention Sinvi because he feared his parents would get into trouble if they found out about her. He lied that he found Sinvi in a beast's cave and took her in when he saw her mother was dying. You lied that you found Sinvi in a beast shark's cave. And when you saw her mother was dying, you took her in. You asked your father about his current job. Zeno said he's working as a security trainer for the Hen City auction house and has reached the deep orange shard rank 2 years ago. Arthur learned that the shard core colors range from black to white, and the lighter the color, the higher the rank. Arthur realized Zeno had worked really hard to level up. Zeno asked Arthur what stage he was at. Arthur replied that he had reached the bright red rank. Zeno couldn't believe it. He said Arthur was about to surpass him. He suggested that father and son should have a match in the backyard. Suddenly, the Lord of Vincent City walked in asking about Arthur. Arthur introduced himself to the Vincent family. His daughter Lily found Cindy adorable and asked Arthur if she could pet her. Zeno reminded them that they were about to have a friendly match. They went to the field, and Vincent was amazed to learn that Arthur's manicore was bright red despite being only 18. He said even the prodigies at Sazashi Academy only reached dark red at age 11. But Arthur said he hadn't focused on training his manicore properly because most of his time was spent assimilating the wills of other students. When Arthur started the match with his father, Zeno blocked his son's attacks and praised Arthur's skill improvements, but warned he would get serious now. He enveloped his body in flames. Arthur recalled that augmenters, mana enhancers, cannot control elements from the environment, so they often struggle to identify which element suits them. But once they reach a certain level, they can choose their desired element, and extremely talented ones can even control multiple elements at once. Arthur tried to keep up with his father's speed, but Zeno still dominated and pushed him back. Arthur remembered Vidian's lesson about breaking through one's limits. Suddenly, lightning sparked from his body, setting the ground ablaze. Zeno realized Arthur was using high-level fire magic and was even more surprised when Arthur controlled water from a fountain to extinguish the flames. Everyone was shocked that Arthur could manipulate 2 elements simultaneously. Zeno praised his son as a genius, but Arthur admitted he had just learned this technique and hadn't fully mastered it yet. After the match, Vincent was extremely impressed and suggested that Arthur should study at Sazashi Academy, the most prestigious school in the 6 continents. His wife, Tabitha, said not to worry about tuition because they would take care of everything. Vincent said he knew the academy's principal and could help Arthur enroll, even though he was underage. But Arthur said he had just reunited with his family and wanted to spend time with them first. Afterwards, Arthur wandered around the house and met Lily, who took him to her private dining area. A servant brought food and explained that Lily frequented this place whenever she felt stressed. They said her parents wanted her to become a mage, even though neither of them had any magic ability. The next day, Arthur met up with Taylor's group again. They were very happy to see he had grown up and said they just got a good quest in a distant city. Angela said their work had taken them all over. Arthur realized he had only seen a small part of the 6 continents and started thinking about becoming an adventurer to explore the world like them. He bathed Cindy while thinking about how Lily was pressured by her parents to awaken magic. He couldn't stop thinking about it. Then Elsa told Arthur he needed a haircut. The barber said Arthur would shine after the cut. Everyone was surprised by Arthur's new look, but he didn't understand why he had to change his hairstyle. Tabitha explained they wanted him to look sharp because they would take him to the Hen City auction house, but today, they only planned to tour the city. Ilano said, "Ah, sir, please be the escort for Miss Lily." Immediately, Lily showed jealousy because Ilano used to be very close to her but was now clinging to Arthur. Arthur explained that since he had just returned, Ilano was acting that way. They explored the city together. On the way, they met a group of students from Sazashi Magic Academy. Lilia explained that their uniforms represented power, but Arthur thought they looked like troublemakers. Arthur saw a shop selling Bichiko beast cores. These cores can enhance the user's strength. Tabitha explained that beast cores containing the will of fierce beasts are worth over 100 gold coins. Arthur didn't know exactly how valuable that was, so she said that amount could sustain someone for 255 years. Lily interrupted to say there were cheaper cores sold at weapon shops. She wanted to buy one, but Tabitha said that wasn't a shortcut to awakening magic, and said Lily was too young to have a beast core. They continued eating together, but Arthur noticed Lily looked unhappy. Suddenly, she stood up and left. Arthur followed and saw her enter a beast core shop. She intended to use her allowance to buy a core, but Arthur stopped her, saying that wasn't the key to awakening magic. Lily insisted she should at least try. She said she had tried everything without success, adding that Arthur wouldn't understand how it feels since he's a genius. Arthur realized he was the reason she felt pressured. He was about to say more, but she told him to leave and accidentally bumped into an academy student. She immediately apologized but seemed to start getting bullied by the shop owner. A bystander heard the incident but, learning they were Sarashi Academy students, he decided to ignore it. The leader of the student group threatened her with magic. Arthur was about to intervene but was stopped. The woman said Lily was from the Hen City family. The students immediately backed off, knowing her family contributed greatly to the academy and that causing trouble would get them reprimanded by the principal. Still, one of them sneered, saying Lily was just buying her spot with money because she had no real talent. Later, Vincent was informed of the incident, and Lily apologized for causing trouble, but he told her not to worry because he would handle it. However, Lily thought her father wanted Arthur to take her place since she still hadn't awakened her magic. Tabitha told her to calm down, but Lily angrily said she hated all of them, and then ran back to her room. She wondered when she would finally awaken her magic. She believed her parents were donating to the academy just to keep her opportunity alive. Arthur came to see her and said he never wanted to take her place. Lily admitted she was jealous, because her father seemed to focus all his attention on Arthur. She also felt useless since she still had no magic, thinking her parents must be tired of her. Arthur understood that feeling, grabbed her face, and said everyone knew she had tried her best. He said her father liked him only because he reminded him of Elena's younger sister, who had clung to him since they met. Lily realized she was putting pressure on herself, and Arthur asked if she really wanted to learn magic. Realizing this, Arthur told Vincent that Lily had left home and was on a journey to awaken her magic. But he reassured him not to worry because he knew where she was going. Arthur handed Vincent a letter. In it, Lily told him not to worry because he knew where she was going. Arthur gave Vincent a letter, in which Lily said she left because she didn't want to be a burden to the family and promised that one day she would become a mage. Vincent realized he had put too much pressure on his daughter because he just wanted her to have a bright future, but he affirmed that he still loved her, whether she awakens magic or not. Lily suddenly appeared, apologizing for lying. Arthur revealed that he had planned this to see if her parents truly understood her. Vincent realized he had been thoughtless and said Lily didn't need to enter the academy, to live happily was enough, but Lily insisted she really wanted to join because she wanted to become a mage. She wanted to make those around her happy. Arthur decided to help her awaken her mana core, telling Lily and Alano to meditate together. Tabitha wasn't sure this plan would work. Arthur guided them to breathe deeply and focus. Alano said she saw a little light that disappeared because she got distracted. Lily hadn't seen anything yet. Arthur told her to relax and placed his hands on the girls' backs to help guide the energy flow. Finally, Lily saw the light. Her parents joyfully realized she had awakened her magic. Arthur's plan succeeded. The family held a celebration party for Lily. The servant said she could eat as much as she wanted. Arthur reminded her it would take 2 to 3 years for her magic to stabilize and that she needed to practice daily. The next day, Arthur went to the Hen City auction house, where his father was. Gino was head of security. He instructed the guards to stay alert. The host of the auction opening announced that the royal family was also present, causing the hall to erupt. People welcomed Arthur, recognizing that the public highly respected King Glider. The first item introduced was an elemental weapon capable of paralyzing targets, and it was sold for over 50 gold coins. But Arthur noticed Cindy was nowhere to be seen, so he left to look for her. Vincent announced the next item, a lion cub that would become a rank 1 mana beast when grown, starting bid 100 gold coins. Nobles quickly pushed the price up from 150 gold. Prince Katashi told his father he wanted that beast, so King Kohler raised the bid to 1,000 gold, shocking everyone. Vincent congratulated the king on winning the auction. Meanwhile, Sinvai was wandering around the building, and was spotted by a mage named Sebastian Trun. He told her to follow him. Arthur arrived just in time and recognized him as a royal mage. He demanded Sinvai be returned. Sinvi returned to Arthur's side, and he was about to leave when Sebastian blocked him, saying he wanted to keep Sinvi for training. Sinvi returned to Arthur's side, and he was about to leave when Sebastian blocked him, saying he wanted to keep Sinvi for training. He threatened to punish Arthur's family if Sinvi wasn't handed over. Arthur was furious at being threatened. A terrifying murderous aura radiated from Arthur, causing panic throughout the building. Goli immediately ordered the guards to be on high alert. Sebastian Tron was scared, and Arthur realized he had let emotions overpower his reason. Goli didn't know Zeno was the one responsible. Security blamed him for the incident, and Goli admitted his mistake. Sabashi-chan begged the king for forgiveness, saying no one was hurt in the matter, but he still showed concern for Sinvai. Vocale mentioned wanting to reward Sebastian's loyalty, and said that if Zeno handed Sinvai over, all mistakes would be forgiven, but Zeno said he had no authority to decide, because Sinvai was found by Arthur. Keller then turned to Arthur and suggested trading Sin Vi for the demon lion beast. Arthur refused, saying Sin Vi wasn't something to be traded. Kaledo tried to persuade him, but Arthur countered, "Would you sell your own child?" The answer made Kaledo furious, and Sabashi-chan ordered the Zero-Ton squad to attack, but Arthur easily defeated them all. Sabashi-chan couldn't believe it. He launched a fire attack, but time suddenly stopped. Sabashi-chan was confused and realized Arthur had stopped time. Arthur said his magic was useless, then broke Sabashi-chan's leg, causing him to scream in pain. Arthur warned that no one could hear him. At this point, Sabashi-train began begging for mercy. Time resumed, as Arthur grew exhausted and had to stop the skill. Arthur woke up after fainting, knowing he had gone too far since he hadn't yet mastered the time-stop skill. Elsie came into the room to visit him. She said she used healing magic on him, then took him to the market and bought a hairpin for Ilano. She asked Arthur to bring it home to his little sister. She asked if he wanted to buy anything, but Arthur worried about the family's finances, thinking Jenner might have lost his job. Elizabeth Trin comforted him, saying she was also working, and they continued shopping. Arthur helped his mother carry the goods home. Back home, Arthur saw Jenner arguing with a man. This man was there on behalf of the king to apologize, and handed them a bag of gold coins. He said this was the king's goodwill after the recent incident. Arthur knew he had almost been killed, but still accepted the money. The man added that all the royal guards had been dismissed. Zeno thought they deserved harsher punishment, but the man reminded him that Zeno had also failed in security. Arthur realized the incident happened because he dared to confront the king. He asked what happened to Sabashi-chan. The man replied that he had been demoted and was being treated for his injuries. Sabashi-chan said Arthur was the cause of it all. Zeno thought that accusation was ridiculous. The man reminded that the king was displeased but wanted to make peace with gold. He told Zeno to discipline his son because not everyone was as forgiving as the king. Before leaving, he gave the gold bag to Arthur, reminding him that he was the one who had almost been killed. The next day, Arthur went to Sabashi Academy but was surprised to see a strange bird fly past. He decided to follow it and was led to the forest. There he met an old woman. She said she had been waiting for him for a long time. Arthur realized she was the Academy's principal. She said she wanted to test Arthur's true power because she had heard much about him from Vincent. Arthur sensed she was very strong, so he decided to show his full ability. He combined wind and earth magic to launch a rock attack at her, but she easily destroyed them. Arthur continued with fire magic, turning it into a blazing weapon and sending it flying, but she used wind to create a shield and blocked it all. Not stopping, Arthur enhanced his body with mana and charged into close combat, but she easily knocked him away with a strong gust of wind. She said she was impressed but also noticed he was overconfident. The principal used magic to create a sharp sound, causing Arthur to endure pain. He suspected she might be a special mage. Then she stopped the spell and said he had passed the test. She asked why he came here just to show off his power. Arthur confessed that he wanted her help to protect his family, and he's ready to enroll if she agrees. However, he also said he's not old enough to enroll yet, needing to wait 3 more years. The principal asked why he didn't just start studying right away. Arthur replied that he wants to enjoy life and has a dream of becoming an adventurer to explore the world. He hasn't told his parents about this plan yet. She told him to convince his family before she agrees. Vincent then told Arthur's parents about his true power. Elise opposed Arthur becoming an adventurer because she thought he was too young to leave. Arthur promised to visit home often. He wants to explore 6 continents. He's very close and understands how his parents felt when they adventured. But the truth is, he wants to test how far his power goes. Because he finds training at home too boring, Zeno knows Elise is worried, so he suggests finding someone trustworthy to accompany Arthur. Zeno asks the Tauren group if anyone wants to go along. Adam immediately refuses, fearing Arthur might beat him to death. Zeno admits he has no comeback, but promises to repay anyone who helps his son. Unexpectedly, Casimir, who usually acts alone, volunteers to accompany Arthur, surprising everyone. She says she wants to help him. Adam thinks Casimir is the perfect choice because she's an Act mentor who can use magic, and she just reached the Bright Cam rank strong enough to protect Arthur. Then Arthur sees Lily meditating. He realizes she no longer needs him to transfer mana. Arthur knows Elise also has abilities and will awaken around age 7, but he hopes his sister will awaken later to avoid attention. Arthur tells his father he wants to choose a weapon from the auction house's warehouse. They go to the storage, and he starts searching for a sword, but most are too big. A student leads him to a staff. At first he's uninterested, but when he picks it up, he feels it's unusually heavy. Arthur guesses it might be an elemental weapon. When he channels mana into the staff, it glows and transforms into a sword. He tries swinging the sword and sees it's sharp enough to split a wooden barrel in half. He notices strange characters on the sword, and when he releases his grip, it starts sparking, but when he holds it again, it becomes light and fits perfectly. Zeno comes looking for Athena. Arthur hides the real sword and holds a normal one, telling his father this is his choice. Vincent notices the staff tied to Arthur's waist and asks. Arthur answers that he just saw it on the floor and planned to use it for training. Vincent asks the servant. The servant says an old man once brought that staff because no one could use it. All the appraisers said it had no special value. Vincent wanted a senior expert to check again, but Arthur calls Vincent uncle and asks to keep it. Vincent happily agrees. The family holds Arthur's 9th birthday party. His mother gifts him a glove with a healing stone. Vincent gives him a ring and gives Alice another, so she'll know if Arthur's mana falls into danger. Adam gives him a scroll that records voice by mana, which Elise can use to reply. Arthur thanks everyone, saying he's about to start his adventure. Elise tells him to always prioritize safety. That night, Arthur prepares to depart. He feels the love everyone has for him and vows to become stronger to protect them. The family sees him off. Elise reminds him not to forget the ring and wishes him luck. Arthur promises to return safely. He begins his journey with Casimir. They arrive at the Adventurers Guild. Casimir tells the clerk that Arthur is here to check his rank. Arthur wears a mask to avoid recognition by the royal family and takes the alias Servant Wren. They are led to meet Guildmaster Cassian. He says usually a written test is required first, but since Casimir vouches for Arthur, he agrees to let him take the exam directly. They enter the arena. At this moment, a girl named Dan is competing against a judge. She uses water magic, but is immediately countered. The judge says Dan has good magic but weak defense, so she will start at the C rank. Casimir is impressed that such a young girl reached C rank early. The next competitor is a boy named Elager, but for some reason, the judges decide he will enter at the B rank without testing. Everyone is surprised. No one understands why such an exception was made. The next is Luca Sai, an arrogant boy confident he deserves the on rank. The judge knows he already reached the bright cam rank. Casimir is surprised to hear this. Arthur also realizes Luca is a count. Luca summoned a guardian spirit to attack the judges but was defeated in an instant. He then cast a fire spell that created a giant fireball, setting the entire testing area ablaze, but he couldn't control the fireball, which exploded violently. The judges quickly used wind magic to extinguish the flames. She commented that Luca was too arrogant and demoted him to rank B. Furious, Luca tried to attack her, but Arthur threw his sword to stop him. Next up was Arthur. When he stepped forward, the official sensed a powerful aura and looked scared. Cassiopeia approached the guildmaster, saying she wanted to personally test him. Though reminded that he was just an E-rank adventurer and shouldn't take the test, he said he was only doing it because he knew the informant Arthur. Arthur realized Cassiopeia was very strong and eagerly stepped into the match. He cloaked his sword in flames and charged. Cassiopeia's strikes were lightning fast, forcing him to retreat. Arthur launched a fierce counterattack but was still pushed back. Cassiopeia taught him a lesson in arrogance. After the match, the announcer declared Arthur ranked B. The judges sat down together, surprised that so many adventurers had reached rank B in just one day. Cassiopeia explained that the city of Sarashi recently opened its gates to EOs, and Lucas, the dwarf, is a half EO. Eligard, a human raised in the dwarf kingdom, was exempt from the test because he had a powerful sponsor. As for Arthur, though his identity was unclear, his guardian belonged to the Folimont clan, a family famous for fire mages. Cassius said Arthur would become a formidable swordsman despite still being inexperienced. Arthur admitted he hadn't trained seriously like in his past life because he was too used to being born with power. Eligard stepped forward and recalled that Arthur had deceived. Judge Lucas wondered why they didn't speak to him since he was also rank B. Arthur said it was because he had broken 6 rules, so they didn't like him. Lucas pulled Arthur aside and said they weren't on the same level, but noticing everyone was watching, he reluctantly walked away. Afterwards, Kasim took Arthur to the beast training grounds, which had been fully explored. It was very safe for rookies to train and gather materials there. Suddenly, loud explosions echoed through the forest. A giant wild boar appeared, devouring adventurers. Kasim was surprised because that species wasn't native to this area, so it must have escaped from a transport convoy. It charged at them, and Kasim attacked with her knife. The beast quickly recovered and counterattacked. When Kasim nearly fell into a ravine, Arthur saved her just in time. They swore the rookie group was about to be attacked. Kasim blocked the strike while Arthur waited for the perfect moment to hit the beast's side. He used fire magic to defeat it. That night, Kasim shared that she became an adventurer to escape her family, who always insisted that fire magic was the strongest, but since she lacked talent for fire, she was seen as a failure. Arthur said that's not true. All elements are equal. Kasim laughed because Arthur was too serious. He realized he got angry because in his past life he was also considered useless. Kasim said the Towing Guild changed her because they taught her to trust others. She asked if Arthur had ever met someone who changed him. Arthur wasn't sure, but recalled everyone who had helped him, and knew he had to change to protect them. In Eleonora, Tessa was watching Arthur, angry to see him with a girl. Tessa realized she was jealous and advised herself to train magic harder. 2 years passed, and rumors about Arthur spread everywhere. Everyone called him the masked swordsman, an adventurer who was insanely strong. But Qasim said it was time to leave. Arthur knew he still had a long way to go, and that his journey was only just beginning.